ultimate fishing authority in the Northeast, the Fisherman magazine.
No guessing, just catching. New Explore Series fish finders keep you locked on fish with unbeatable clarity, best-in-class imaging options, and a stunning ultra-bright HD screen. There's more to explore, only with Humminbird.
I'm Jim Hutchinson with the New Jersey Delaware Bay edition of the Fisherman magazine. It's Thursday, April 3rd, 2025. I think I got it right this week. Tautog season reopened in New Jersey on Tuesday, at least for the month of April. We've got the opening day of trout in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and all of Delaware. That's coming up this weekend. Plus, on this week's video, we've got Open Boat with Jenny Ackerman, a Pocono Outdoors guy report, plus the very first black drum of New Jersey's 2025 season. Somewhere a dogwood is blooming. But first, the big news, our headline of the week, the very first Jersey 50 of the 2025 season. I know, let the criticisms rain down from out east into the Northeast, but I've got this one on good authority from a scientist, a marine fisheries expert, a doctor, an author here at the Fisherman magazine, an all-around good guy, Dr. Adam Aguiar, who's always on the prowl whenever the stripers are around. So let's wait for the headline image for just one moment. First, we see the good doctor from Stockton University and his first fish after hitting New Jersey's west coast along the Delaware River to start the week in those balmy midday Monday conditions. Actually, Adam texted me that morning, stoked with his 43-pounder, 47 inches in length, with a 30-inch girth. Now, if you were to use the IGFA formula on this fish, length times girth divided by 800, that's 52 pounds. But Adam got a quick boga on this fish before he released it and pegged it at 43. So then it's a few hours later, 3:30 in the afternoon on Monday. I get another text while I'm sitting here at my desk trying to get work done. It says, quote, Jim, OMG. So first came the boga scale. That's the boga scale right there on the screen. He sends that. It's right there around the 50 mark. He got a quick wait before unhooking this fish standing in the Delaware River. But the next photo tells a bigger story. Now, if you saw Adam's little tip last week, he did that Gabriel tackle blood bag. Well, that's what he was using for this fish. He did not get a taped measurement because he did not want to bring this big spawning river fish out of the water, but he did get the boga weight on it and said 100% bigger than 49 inches because the 43-pounder was 47 inches. 50-pound striper on the Delaware River on the Jersey side. Now, the problem for folks out east, farther reaches of Long Island into New England, you probably don't see many of these pre-spawn stripers with these sagging bellies, which is why, of course, we always ask people, hold the mouth, don't put your hand in the gills, and cradle that belly, especially this time of year. But where New Jersey is located, of course, we've got along our west side, the Delaware River, and then we've got on the other side, the east side, we've got the Hudson River. So we're smack dab in between two spawning rivers, but still the fishery management folks will not give us spawning area status. But let's look at another report over the weekend from Anthony Fleming on the Jersey side outside of Philadelphia. No weights or measures provided, but I'll leave it to you to decide. Is that a 30-incher? No, it's definitely bigger. And again, see how Anthony's cradling that fish? Perfect. Take the weight off those sagging bellies. They're loaded with eggs. No doubt a 40-inch class fish that Anthony caught there over the weekend as well. So if stripers are being caught from shore along the Delaware that are 47, 49 inches long, I dare say there are more than a few 50-inchers somewhere up the Delaware River at this point on the spawn. Moving up towards the spawn, maybe they're staging before the spawn, but the big cows have come home. The question is, where were these fish 2 months ago? Don't you ever wonder about that? The textbooks all say that the winter over location off the Outer Banks. Well, I don't believe that anymore. Which sends me back to the Northeast striped bass study for just a moment and our work with the folks at Gray Fish Tag Research through pop-up archival satellite tags placed in jumbo stripers. Now, first we go back to the fall of 2021. Chuck Manny, aboard his Tie Man, out of Highlands, New Jersey, deployed a mini-pat archival pop-up device in a jumbo striper that we named in honor of Fred Galifaro, the late Fred Galifaro from the Long Island edition. It's called Uncle Fred. Now, when we take a closer look at this fish called Uncle Fred and its ultimate destination inside the Chesapeake Bay, you'll see this big girl hitting the Cape Charles, Virginia area in November, staying in that particular area inside the Chesapeake through December. And for what it's worth, that's when Chuck Manny turns his attention from fishing off the Jersey coast to going down to Cape Charles, Virginia in search of those jumbo stripers. So Uncle Fred in the winter of 2022 is already inside the Chesapeake up near Tangier Island and Crisfield in February. And that's when the tag came loose. Now to me, and I'm no scientist, but a big spawning striper like Uncle Fred is already inside the Chesapeake Bay at the beginning of the year, staging and eating perhaps before sliding farther up the Chesapeake mid to late February into March to spawn and finish up sometime in April. So that would mean then, right, that we also have jumbo stripers that are staged inside the deeper Delaware Bay waters or perhaps right outside of Delaware, hanging around and waiting before they head up the river to spawn. So let's take a look at another satellite tagging project or another fish that was named Berkeley in honor of Berkeley Striper Club, big proponent and supporter of the Northeast Striped Bass Study. Thank you guys. Now this particular fish, according to the satellite tracking data, did not go to Cape Charles for the winter that year, but instead stayed off the coast 20 miles east of Ocean City, Maryland, and that's where it was as of February 23rd, 2023, when that tag came loose. Now, if you look at that chart, it's a fairly straight shot northwest to the Delaware River spawning ground. So could Adam's fish and Anthony's fish, could they have settled in offshore in January, February, off Delmarva, off Ocean City, Maryland, slid into the bay sometime middle of the month of March, mistakenly grabbed the wrong bloodworm in the final tides of March of 2025? We just don't know. But you could help us learn more this season by participating in the Northeast Striped Bass Studies Striper Quest 25 alongside of folks like Chuck and his tie man. That's May 15th out of Atlantic Highlands. Once again, this season we'll be opening this up to the general public. Striper tagging competition. We've got 4 boats deploying 4 PAT devices, pop-up archival transmitters, and we've got 4 of those on 4 different boats, but we want you to join us because we want to turn this into the largest day of striper tagging anywhere in the world. We can't do it without you, so get a look at that. You have details in the Fisherman magazine. In the April edition, we'll have more information in the May edition as well. So I mentioned New Jersey not being a spawning area state. There was a time when New Jersey had that spawning area status because of our unique situation in between those 2 spawning rivers, the Delaware and the Hudson. So anyway, last week I reported here from the Jersey side of the Delaware how anglers cannot keep any striped bass here in New Jersey during the month of April and May on the Delaware River between the Salem River and the Calhoun Street Bridge. All of April, all of May. Now, Bob from Pennsylvania saw last week's video. He sent this email. He said, "You are providing bad information about striper fishing on the Delaware." He says, quote, "You should check the 2025 PA fishing regulations before stating wrong information on your videos." Well, you're right, Bob. On the PA side, you're right. From the Pennsylvania state line upstream to the Calhoun Street Bridge, from April 1st through May 31st, Pennsylvania anglers on that side of the Delaware can keep 1 striper from 22 to less than 26 inches. Upstream of the Calhoun Street Bridge, it's open year-round. On the Pennsylvania side, with 1 striper from 28 to less than 31 inches. Now, of course, I was referring last week to the New Jersey side of the Delaware River, which is closed this month to keeping any stripers, and that goes until June 1st, and that again is from the Salem River to the Calhoun Street Bridge. So while New Jersey anglers fishing between Salem and Trenton cannot keep a striped bass in April or May. Pensy anglers on the other side of the Delaware can, from 22 to 26 inches. So anyway, I thought it might be helpful where all these states, New Jersey's got our neighbors in New York and Pennsylvania and Delaware. If we looked at what all of our neighbors have in their backyard when it comes to striper fishing for the 2025 season, just so we're on the same page. So to summarize in this chart that you'll see on the screen, Pennsylvania anglers downstream of the Calhoun Street Bridge on the Delaware to the Pennsylvania state line, one striper, 22 to less than 26 inches, a sub-slot. Delaware anglers, well, you get a summer slot on the Delaware Bay River and estuaries, tributaries of the Delaware, one striper from 20 to 24 inches in July and August. And if you're in New York waters on the Hudson above the George Washington Bridge from April 1st through November 30th, you can keep one striper from 23 to 28 inches. Now, New Jersey is one striper from 28 to 31 inches, except, of course, the one tagged bonus fish. If you have your striped bass bonus permit, that becomes available later this spring. One striper per tag, one tag per angler, 24 to less than 28 inches, and you have to keep all the catch records to return to the state of New Jersey. That comes from the fact that New Jersey does not have a commercial striper fishery, no harvest, no sale, so they take a portion of that quota and transfer it to anglers through the striped bass bonus program for that one striped bass bonus per tag. The stripernistas from out east, they love attacking New Jersey's bonus program based on our zero commercial harvest. But you never hear anything about these season sub-slots that surround us in New York, Pennsylvania, and Delaware. You know what I mean? Strange. Very strange. So, striper season is underway in New Jersey, and the big girls, the big cows, they've come home. We are also back to our weekly edition format here at the Fisherman magazine, which means subscribers are getting an edition emailed to them every single week through the end of November. I spoke last week about the April edition on newsstands now, and I'll give you another sneak peek inside that edition, but this is the cover for our very first weekly digital of 2025. That's 4-year-old Luke Kern on the cover. You saw him make his seasonal debut to the world a week or two ago. Nice striped bass, Luke. Inside that digital edition, subscribers can get a look at the table of contents for this week, a surf column, inshore, freshwater fly fishing, news, editor's log, calendar of events, product spotlight, and all of the fishing reports in the New Jersey region. Be sure to check out Matt Broderick's article on the Raritan Bay. That's the inshore column. I've already shared with you this week's reporting from up the Delaware about those big fish coming up the coast from offshore or perhaps laying down somewhere deep in the Delaware Bay. But the same will happen on the Raritan soon enough. Those Raritan Bay stripers, wherever they are during the winter, they're getting ready to go on the feed now, especially after this new moon this past week, a little bit more warming water, warming air temperatures, and it should be lights out fishing. Again, you can access those fishing reports every week by going to thefisherman.com and then selecting the region of your choice. But under the North Jersey section, for example, checking in with Phil Sorrentino and the boys at the Tackle Box, they reported to us on Sunday their prediction for the week on the Raritan Bay. Quote, when the waters get to 50, look for it to break wide open. And for what it's worth, it's still hovering around 44 degrees, 45 degrees around Sandy Hook, but back inside the bay near Keensburg, water temperatures are up into the 50s. So hopefully this prediction comes true. Phil also had a report of black drum on clams near the Cliffwood Beach area over the weekend. Now, I did not see that one, but I did see this one. Zach Michaud sent me this email over the weekend. Nick Tallarico laid the boom on the black drum bite at Graveling Point. Check that fish in, or check that report in with the folks at Scott's Bait and Tackle in Mystic. If I'm not mistaken, this dinner-sized drum was taken on Saturday on bloodworm. So now, maybe time to soak some clams. Captain Dan Schaefer of Insomniac Guide Service down in Cape May County, he always told me when those first black drum arrive, That's typically when the sheep's head are hot on their tails. So perhaps it's time. Now, I'm sure that Nick here was gunning for a striper there at Graveling Point. Most of the riverbank fishing along the interior of the state, the Toms, the Great Egg, the Mullica River, of course, and those back bay sod banks, wherever you may be prowling, bloodworms soaked from shore. Anthony Colella, he had 6 in the bay the other day, including this 29-incher that had a belly full of bunker. Anthony said bass were chasing bunker around the bridge with birds diving all around. Dead low tide, or mid-tide. That's when he was fishing in the bay of OC, New Jersey. Ocean City, Ocean County, either or, it's on. We're also on the Tautog watch since Tuesday. New Jersey's 1-month blackfish season got underway on Tuesday, the first. No fooling, many of the Monmouth, Ocean, Atlantic, and Cape May charter boats and head boats, they're heading east in search of Tautog this week. But can we find a few blackfish on the jetties and bridges? Perhaps a wayward sheep. Is it too early? I don't know. I saw Noel at One Stop Bait and Tackle. He's got a lot of posts of jetty jocks there in the Atlantic City area. Gabriel Tackle was first to get back to me on Tuesday. John Mayfield with the first blackfish of the season. Upper Barnegat Bay, terra firma. Just under 18 inches, he was using sandworms. A couple of local shop tournaments, though, to tell you about. They'll give you extra points for blackfish right now. You've got, as I said before, One Stop Bait and Tackle in Atlantic City and Riptide Bait and Tackle over there on the north side of Absecon Inlet in the town of Brigantine. In fact, Andy at Riptide reported to me via email on Monday to say Candace from Egg Harbor Township picked up both Riptide Bloods and Riptide Rotters, put a little bit of both, a worm and a clam, on the hook. They were about ready to leave when the husband says to Candace, "Hey, your rod's in the sand." Candace jumped on it, was able to wrestle that rod and reel out of the sand, and also wrestled in a 29-inch striper. You would think it might be a little early to be catching stripers along the front beaches, even with bait. No, it is not. And you don't know until you try. Trout season kicks off in the Garden State on Saturday, April 5th. Same in Pennsylvania. In Delaware, the upstate streams open on Saturday, April 5th for the kids. And then Sunday, it's everyone who can get out there and enjoy. That's very much like Spring Lake in Monmouth County this Saturday. The Shark River surf anglers have been doing specialty stocking efforts there in advance of Saturday's Free Kids Tournament. Jenny Ackerman was there with the Shark River guys this past weekend and getting a load of all the fish being stocked. There is a 15-pounder waiting for one young angler to tackle on Saturday morning, a memorial to the late Captain Chris Hewitt of the Big Mohawk. The kids were out in force this weekend, as I said, with Jenny doing all kinds of stocking efforts with the Shark River guys. Details can be found about this tournament on page 6 and 7 of the April edition of the Fisherman magazine. Kids 15 and under, lines in at 8 a.m., prizes awarded at 2 p.m. Hopefully, we'll have some nice weather. It always seems to be cold and rainy on the opening day, but the kids persevere. Adults, do me a favor, let the kids have at it, if you could. As an angler myself, I'd always thought, I don't know if I want to go to this event. It's the opening day, I want to fish. But I started covering this, I wouldn't be anyplace else, right? To watch these kids and the smiles on their faces, there's no way that you can get as much enjoyment out of catching a fish as you can watching these kids. So after 2 p.m. on Saturday, you can have at it at Spring Lake. But before then, let the kids enjoy it. And better yet, help the kids. Bring some kids out and participate in this event. So yeah, Jenny was out there stocking, and I expect she'll be there this weekend. But on this week's Open Boat, Jenny got the chance to speak about rod building with Bill Falconer of Anglers Resource, the two of them talking about the resources provided by the folks at Fuji and why more anglers, especially the ladies, are getting into rod building.
What's up, Mastering Rod Building community? Coming to you live from the 2025 New Jersey Saltwater Fishing Expo, and I'm delighted to be joined by Jenny Ackerman. And if you don't know Jenny, it means you don't read the Fisherman magazine, which is an awesome source. But she also did this remarkable article about her first rod, and it may be the best first rod build I've ever seen in my entire life.
Oh, thank you.
Jenny, how are you? Welcome.
I'm good.
Yeah, so I heard this story. I heard you were going to be building this rod, and then I saw it, and I was like, this can't possibly be your first rod, but it was, right? So she wrote a big article for the Fisherman magazine. Tell everybody a little bit about the Fisherman.
So the Fisherman is the #1 fishing authority here. We have the New England magazine, the Long Island, the New York metro area, and then New Jersey, Delaware Bay. So we cover the whole northern, eastern coast with saltwater, freshwater, everything.
Yeah. And it's not only print, it's available online
digital too.
Right?
Yeah, you get a weekly digital for the months of the spring and the summer and a little bit into the winter. So you get content every week.
That's awesome. And so this particular issue that we're talking about, and they have a ton of great content, is the March 2025 issue 3, volume 53, custom art and rewards. So talk to me about this process of how you set out to build your first custom rod, which is unbelievable, by the way.
Thank you. So working at Grumpy's Tackle, you have access to all these different rod building materials with Bobby, and Bobby taught me.
He's the best.
And we picked out a blank, and I was like, I want one that I can catch fluke with, blackfish, I love my blackfish, and then even some like smaller stripers.
Yeah.
And
so this is a St. Croix
Legend
SC5
Extreme.
Legend Extreme blank.
Discontinued, unfortunately, but it's an excellent blank. It's one of the best. I love it.
Gorgeous blue color.
Yeah, you can guess my favorite color.
Yeah, you got a custom painted skeleton seat.
Yes,
You
I
got
did.
custom wind grips.
Oh yeah.
You guys have to see this thread work. She did a is that a shooting star? It is an elaborate 2-axis, completely closed and shaded decorative thread wrap. She did a beautiful job, beautiful guide wraps. She's got a KL train. It's like really, really well done. So how did you get into building in the first place? You working at the shop, you have access to the components.
Seeing everything Bobby did, I was like, I want to build my first rod, and he's really good with like planting the seed and getting you started. He's like the devil's advocate, because once you get into it, you can't stop. And so far I built 11 rods, but I did,
but this was the first one.
This was the first one that started it all. So.
How long did it take you to build this one?
So I did it like after hours working, so maybe like 3 weeks, I feel like. But there was a part where like Bobby left me on my own to do the decorative wrap. I wrote down every step on a piece of paper, and I zoomed through it on my own. And he came in, he's like, oh my God, you did it all. I'm like, yeah.
We're gonna post some close-ups of this thread wrap and see some of the details. The finish work is really, really good. So you built 10 more since this.
I made a koi fish rod. It looks like my koi in my backyard.
Oh, that's awesome.
I made some nice surf rods. I worked with like paracord and making like the knots and everything on some other ones. So I tried to do like a ton with this stuff.
I tell people all the time, the best rod builders are women, and I've taught a lot of people to build, and the female builders are often the fastest learners. They're patient, they have a great eye for detail, sometimes they're already crafty, and I don't know if it's getting their nails painted or what, but they understand what we're going for with like a good final finish code. I see tons of people's first rods. This, I think, maybe the best first rod I've ever seen in my life. It's very impressive. And you've taken it fishing, it works.
It does work, it does catch fish, it does work,
That's awesome.
Thank you.
So what would you tell any other lady anglers or women that are thinking about, girls thinking about getting into rod building? Like, what have you learned? What would you tell them to get started?
I would say just to do it. You have your bragging rights to say, 1, you fish it, and then 2, you're catching fish on a rod you built. So that reward, like the title of my article is creating art and its reward. That reward is the fish you catch on your rod, because you take a picture, like the picture of me with the fluke, I'm holding that big fluke in front of me, but my rod is right there. That was a bigger one. That was like that was like an 8-pounder too. So it's like, I don't even care about the size of the fish, I'm just happy to catch on my rod that I built. So it's that reward.
You try to tell people, like I've always found that the time I spend at the bench, it's like being close to fishing even when you can't fish, right? And then it's hard to explain like the pride you get and the extra engagement, kind of joy you get out of catching it on something you built, you know, that you took through like the design process, selecting the blanks, selecting the components, going all the way through to building it. It's just so rewarding, and especially when they turn out like this. This is truly a beautiful rod.
Thank you.
This would have been very competitive at the ICRBE rod competition this year. And
it was there a couple years ago.
Well, it would have done very well this year. So
we'll bring it back.
Yeah,
well,
that's
next
awesome.
year we'll bring it back.
Well, so nice to meet you.
Pleasure,
and well
Bill.
done, and thank you so much, and thanks for everything the Fisherman does. If you guys haven't checked it get out, check it out. Check out Grumpy's tackle. Try to avoid Grumpy. Try to work with Bob or somebody else who's less grumpy.
Yeah,
but,
and keep looking at the magazine too, because we do the Fuji sponsored articles on rod building all winter long.
Yeah.
We just had Mike Garone, who's over here on the booth on the other side. He wrote an excellent article with us. Yeah, might be a little familiar. He wrote for us, and we have more to come because we want to get our readers and other anglers into rod building. And with your help, they can reach out to you and get all the thread and all the other ingredients that they need to make their beautiful rod here.
Awesome.
And we want to get more people into it.
I can't guarantee that everyone who builds a rod will build a rod this beautiful, because this is really exceptional, especially for a first rod, but that's awesome. Thank you so much for your time. It's great to meet you, and we can't wait to see the next rod you build.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, we'll see you next time.
For more than 20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing, that nothing says no to fish bites.
In the famed waters of Panama awaits a fishing experience like no other. Tropic Star Lodge welcomes anglers to get in on world-famous fishing action. Plan your perfect trip today. Tropic Star Lodge, the ultimate in fishing adventures for more than 60 years.
Water temps on the increase all over the place and on the Delaware. That's good for shad, and it's leading to improved shad catches. And of course, some of those tidal river stripers, which are also showing up in Georgia's report as well. So from that other side of the Delaware, let's get a report with my friend, the Pocono Outdoors guy.
Well, hey, thanks, Jim. Temperatures are improving here, especially over here in the Poconos. Starting to get out of that really chilly nights. We still have a few more to go yet, but water temps are rising, especially in the Delaware River. I checked the gauges at Regalsville. Actually, today it was about 53 degrees right before I shot this video. But things are starting to happen positive in the Delaware River. We had the shad run starting to pick up. We had a few guys check in, especially like Tim Keebler. He was out with a couple of his folks, getting them on doubles, even triples, getting into double-digit catches during the day. We haven't seen that for a little while. I know things were tough last week, but I think they're really improving this week as we move forward. Also on the Delaware River, there's another one of those migratory species that chase those shad up. That's the striper. And we had Anthony Fleming check in. He was down in northeastern Philadelphia going out for some stripers with some bloodworms. He managed to get himself about half a dozen or so really nice ones. A great picture here of some big girls actually heading into the Delaware River. So if you're not into the shad fishing, guys, there's certainly some striper chasing them right up the river as well. On the Susquehanna, not too much for shad fishing, but they certainly got the smallmouth bite on. We had some Shane Fry check in. He was out fishing with good buddy Logan Bloomfield, and the two of them managed to put a hurting on some smallmouth out there on the Susquehanna. Getting a good bite here. He said the bite was on fire, so as always, Susquehanna is not disappointing when it comes to those smallmouth. A little bit closer to home here on Beltsville, we had Glenn Ferreira. He checked in with a nice little smallmouth he caught on Beltsville as well, so the fishing is picking up in the area. Now, one thing, guys, we have trout coming up. We had the Mentored Youth Day this past weekend on Saturday, and Dr. Adam Aguirre sent us this picture in of young Rayanne May Keem. Well, she was out getting a trout all by herself, fishing with her dad, Nathan, out there in Pennsylvania as well. So, guys, I think there's lots of great fishing to come, especially as this weather continues to warm up. Hopefully we get rid of this wind, because if you're in a small boat or kayak, it's going to continue to make things plenty difficult. Guys, get out and get on them. But from Pennsylvania, I'm George, your Pocono Outdoors guy.
The April edition of the Fisherman magazine. It's out in newsstands. That's Taryn Dillon on the cover. She and husband Andy fish hard, send some of the best photos that I get during the season. And after last week's call, I'm starting to get some of your photos as well. So I think I've got the May edition cover picked out. I got a couple of cool tail end features as well. But we went with a summer flounder, a fluke, on the cover because of the prep article in there and because we are on the countdown to the fluke opener here in the Garden State on May 4th. So you check out that glossy section, table of contents. There's a spotlight on bow thrusters by Captain John Raguso. And then there's that strategy session with Matt Broderick on early season fluke. He'll give you some reading for this month to gear up for May 4th. There's tackle tips with Captain Brett Taylor out of Barnegat Bay. You've also got some myth-busting stuff on stripers from our 50-pound man, Dr. Adam Aguiar from Stockton University, and an electronics how-to with Captain Mike Roy. Finally, our tail end feature of the month from New Jersey's Jeff Sorelli about a headboat trip that he took aboard Captain Joe Galluccio's Sea King out of Belmar quite a few years ago. Once you're done with that glossy section, then you turn to the local section, New Jersey, Delaware Bay. That table of contents will give you 5 more features. The Dreamboat Fishing Challenge, that kicks off again on May 1st. Read up on the rules, the prizes, including details on how you can win a $75,000 plus prize package from Steiger, Yamaha, Humminbird, and Minn Kota this season when you subscribe to the Fisherman magazine. Frank Mahalik talks Tautog tactics. You need them this week. Central Jersey field editor Ashley Viola, a Stockton grad herself, talking about some fellow alum in the Barnegat Bay area. And finally, Captain Scott Newhall offers up an approach to take when forage and striper migrations don't necessarily coincide. But by all accounts, it looks as though they are. We mentioned bunker being in the bellies of striped bass. The bunker are here, the herring are here, and I've been hearing ospreys chirping over my head all over the neighborhood. The time has come. Finally, an April tradition. Tom Pagliaroli does our 2025 stock report all about the trout stocking efforts throughout the Garden State. And he's got all the waters and the numbers where you're going to be able to find trout as of Saturday, April 5th. Again, look for the fluke on the cover. Prep now for fluke, and may the 4th be with you. Just checking my calendar this week for opening day. May 4th is a Sunday. I'm going to count more as we get along to the closer to the starting date, but at this point right now, it's 31 days until the opener, and I sure hope that you are as stoked as I am. Next week, fish sausage stuffing will happen in New Jersey. The Mid-Atlantic Fishery Management Council will meet here in New Jersey from April 8th through April 10th. They're going to meet at the Seaview Dolce Hotel at 401 South New York Road in Galloway, the old Seaview Hotel. It's a golf course. Wednesday's session is a biggie with a joint session of the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission. The fisheries managers at the council and commission are looking at recreational measures, the recreational measures setting framework, which is essentially the recreational management reform that took place a few years ago, and whether or not to continue with that effort. I think the commercial guys are opposed to it, and a bunch of nuts with the enviros are also opposed to it, but it's better for recreational sea bass, porgy, and fluke limits. That session will run from 9 a.m. till noon. There's a break for lunch. And then the recreational sector separation amendment will be discussed from 1 o'clock in the afternoon until 3. I plan on being there for one or both sessions to report back at some point in the next couple of weeks. You can get all the details by going over to mafmc.org, Mid-Atlantic Fishery Management Council. Finally this week, an update on Empire Wind. We talked about it briefly, and the pile driving on this industrial offshore wind site that it's expected to begin on May 1st. It's south of Long Beach, New York by about 13 miles, and I think it's 18, 19 miles east of Long Branch. Rose Willis posted on Facebook on Tuesday that Van Ord has been contracted to conduct subsea rock installation within the Empire Wind lease area. This 54 wind turbine generating area. It's going to have more than that, but the first start is 54 generators. Beginning in April, the bulk carrier vessel Nordnes, this Nordnes, look for that this month. They're doing the rock layer installation on the seabed, which is supposed to create a more stable environment for when these monopiles start getting pile driven. So once these rocks are scattered throughout the area in April, the nearly 1,000-foot turbines are scheduled to be pile driven into the seabed starting May 1st. Now, each monopile for these turbines, the 54 of them to start, will require, check this out, 5,000 to 7,000 blows from the massive hammer type that drives these turbines into the seafloor, up to 200 feet into the seafloor. So you can expect to see more activity there in the coming days and weeks, with the height of the industrial traffic coinciding around the same time as the arrival of giant bluefin at the end of April. They're always here, someplace in the mud hole or out off of the rockaways, but we're going to be looking for those giant bluefin again at the end of April, that short subquota season. Just about the same time, they're going to be pile driving all of these giant turbines. Now, if you're still looking for a boat for the 2025 season, the folks at Clark's Landing Marina in Point Pleasant are running demo days this Saturday and Sunday. Now, you'll need to contact them first to schedule your on-water boat test. Give them a shout at 732-899-5559, or you'll also find an RSVP form at clarkslanding.com. Get the information, again, in the April edition of the Fisherman magazine. News, calendar of events, we cover it all, and you won't find it anywhere else. Now, if your boat is on the hard, like mine, I suggest you get moving. Call your marina, your mechanic, just before you're done wrapping up, because I actually finished wrapping mine up over the weekend, and then I called the folks at Benchmark, and they said, yeah, we'll pick it up next week, because I got to get that Suzuki prepped. I don't want to touch that. Get it all prepped to splash. But with the recent spate of really nice weather we've had, these marinas and the mechanics, everybody's getting real busy. So try to call early. Try to balance yourself out. If you figure you're going to finish the boat on Saturday, give a call this afternoon and say, hey, I'm going to finish on Saturday, but you want to get it out there. And if I'm looking at the weekend weather ahead, lows in the 30s and 40s over the next week, but a high of 70 on Sunday, that has me licking my chops. Again, those big stripers that Adam Aguiar found in the Delaware on Monday, they were scored on a balmy, pleasant, sunny afternoon. Sun and warmth. It's good for angler effort, and hopefully it's good for a couple of jumbo linesiders as well. Tog in play, stripers on the move, black drummer here. It's only a matter of days before we get our first weak fish reported here in New Jersey as well. Catch him up, and I'll see you again next week right here at thefisherman.com.
Are you the best angler in the Northeast? Well, now is your chance to prove it. The Fisherman's Dream Boat Contest is back. Win this Steigercraft center console powered by Yamaha, along with these other great prizes. Fish hard and weigh in as many of these species to be top on the leaderboard. What's the catch? You must be a subscriber to the Fisherman magazine. All it takes is one fish on the board to win a great prize, so however you fish, you have a shot. For all the details and official rules, visit thefisherman.com.